I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk to folks from the VTuber community about their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Gunkey joins us. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Could you introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Sure thing. My name is Gunkey. I am a voice actor on YouTube and a VTuber on Twitch.
Yeah,
I
now
voice act.
you're one of those voice actor folks that us former radio guys are really jealous of.
I suppose.
Because none of us can act to save our lives.
Well, same could be said about a few voice actors, if I'm being honest.
Oh, little burn, little
Ooh.
burn.
Ooh.
So how long have you been a voice actor?
Not long. I've only been a voice actor for about half a year now, and I've been VTubing for even less. I'm still pretty new to all this. I've been VTubing for about 2 months now.
Well, looks like you're going pretty strong in both of them. What made you decide to do VTubing?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but the short of it is I used to be really big into indie game development. I used to be a big game developer.
Oh,
And there was a streamer who picked up my game recently and streamed it. And to make a long story short, he more or less kind of tore me apart.
oh, ouch.
But criticism too, of course. But it was more of a sort of like how content creators sort of build up a negative situation for content and views and things like that. But I saw there was other content creators, like Charlatan Wonder and Iron Pineapple. Those two content creators, they stream and they play a lot of indie games, and they pick devs up, even if it's a small dev project or a demo or a student project or anything like that. They always want to pick indie devs up. And when I became a voice actor and I saw that VTubing has been very, very popular, I was like, I want to contribute. Because I hadn't done game development in a long time, so that's kind of my goal with VTubing is I want to play and sort of show off a lot of indie games, a lot of these passion projects made by teams of a small handful of people, and give some underrated gems some attention.
Well, that's a great concept. I mean, and you've got a great angle too, having been in the field before. So you've got a little bit of a different angle to it. Do you use that in talking about the games, or do you come at it strictly as someone who is playing the games for the first time?
I mostly go in from the perspective of a gamer. From this perspective of somebody who's just like kind of playing and interacting with the game. I don't want it to sort of come off as what's the word? Like pretentious or snobby, like oh, I wouldn't do this way or anything like that. Anything like that. And I hadn't done game dev in a while, so I really don't have the room to talk.
No, still.
So I always go in from like the perspective of a gamer. Like if my viewer were to play the game, how would they be seeing it, right?
Yeah. But I imagine it does help though, kind of explain a few things that might be going on with the game. Yeah. How rough was it for someone to be a content creator and see somebody just for lack of a better term, eviscerate what you put so much work into?
I mean, it was I would say almost sort of humbling experience. I mean, I had worked on this game for about 3 years. Whoa. And there were some things like the maps were confusing. I understand that. There were a few grammatical errors that was kind of cringy, but there are other things like the words "who would think this would be a good idea to upload this" was said a lot.
Ow.
The chat thought it was like an April Fool's joke. They didn't think that anybody would upload it. Something like that seriously was said a lot.
Oh.
And he did sort of the prologue of the story, and which was about an hour into it, kind of understanding the story and the characters and the basic gameplay mechanics. He basically got through the tutorial and was like, "That's it, I'm done." And then he was like, "I can't endure this anymore."
Oof.
And everyone
Ouch.
was like LMFAO, and that was a yeah, that it kind of hit me in the kokoro, as they say,
Yeah.
right in the heart, right in the chest.
Yeah.
And that kind of hurt the view of indie game development for me,
Yeah.
because working on something that you devote yourself to for years, and then that is the first introduction.
Yeah.
Um, but you live and you learn and you endure, and going back on it, it really wasn't the best that I could have done, right?
Well, I mean, but it was something you put a lot of effort into.
Right,
I
right.
mean,
Uh,
that type of stuff is very easy for folks who, and I've unfortunately been guilty of it in the past myself because I was a sports talk host, so it's easy to fall into it. The negative is so much easier than the positive. And as wrestling people I've interviewed used to say, it's easier to be the bad guy
mhm,
than the
mhm.
good guy. And it sounds like you walked right into that haymaker.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean naturally it's kind of something that our brain automatically focuses on. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for about 6 months now, and people will say a lot of positive things, and some people will be a little stinker. And it's a big habit to fall into, of ignoring the a dozen or so positive comments and being like, somebody's like, this is cringe. And your brain just focuses on
Oh yeah, absolutely.
that one comment.
Yeah, I used to get um, old when I was on my old show way back in the day. In the early days of internet, used to be pages of things on one word I said in a post game interview on the internet. It would be something, but the for someone to have that happen to them, to me, when you put your any type of artistic venture out for the public, and I consider
Mhm.
game development that type of thing. To have the feedback immediately be so brutal, um, I can't imagine you'd bounce back. Yeah, that takes some courage to come back even in a different way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you've jumped right into it here.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, it took some time between like having it uploaded and kind of recovering, and then VTubing and voice acting was not something I imagined I'd do at all.
Mm.
At that time. So it took about like a good year and a half before I noticed like Iron Pineapple was playing these student projects. Charlatan Wonder is always going on. And then their big thing is what you do is art. Don't let it be reduced to content.
Mm.
And that kind of that artistic remedy, and then it was really just those two forms of content and that love for just indie games, right? It was Lunacid for me.
Mm.
Playing through Lunacid and that game sort of atmosphere, the writing, the world building, the gameplay is all perfect to me. And I was like, "Oh my god, more people need to play this. Like
Yeah.
more people need to see this." Um and there was a lot of VTubers that I watched at the time, and I was like, "Oh wow, maybe I could try it."
Yeah. Well, you certainly have a very distinctive voice
Mhm.
for this. And did somebody tell you that and say, hey, you ought to try the voice acting side of things?
there was a few times that people did actually, because so I've only been doing it for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
About in July, about 7 or so months ago, my voice was my biggest insecurity about myself.
Ah.
I like, just an example. I had a friend, and as like a little bit, right? Anytime we would sort of argue or bicker, he had like my voice on a soundboard, and he would like play my voice back at me
Oh.
as like a little burn. Um, and it worked. It worked. I cringed at my voice, and then it wasn't like my friend said, "Hey, you do. I play Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
Right.
I game master for Dungeons and Dragons, so
Right.
I do a lot of voices." Um, so I have experience in doing other voices, and they're like, "You should try voice acting." But the one that tipped me over the edge was my mom. It turns out that my mom was an actress and did ballet, and
Oh.
then my great grandmother was a radio host, a pretty prolific radio host in her city. And my great grandfather was an actor, and he even knew, like he knew what I can't remember his name. Who made Twilight Zone? Who is the
Rod Serling.
Rod Serling? He knew Rod Serling,
Oh,
so it actually runs in my blood in a way.
wow.
And that was enough to like, I'll try it. I voice acted some memes, put them on YouTube. The algorithm picked it up and it just exploded my channel.
Whoa.
And with enough exposure, I just kind of came to terms with it, and I just sort of focus on like, instead of trying to cover up the voice, I just try to hone this voice as much as I can.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very unique voice, and first of all, hats off to your great grandmother and being one of the early radio pioneers. Because back then it was a real, being a radio announcer back then was completely different than it was in the 80s, and since it was a completely different animal, and a lot of things had to be done. But to have a distinct voice and to be able to use it in actual acting is different. It's there are things. So, have you in the past done acting? Were you a drama kid?
I took one semester of drama in college. And that was my experience acting.
Well,
that was it.
Well, some folks are just naturals.
Well, when I said earlier that some people can't act, I was referring to me. I try my best.
No, it really is different, because some people even ask me, says, why don't you try that, because you're old and got nothing else going on. I say, Andy, look, I can talk a little bit, but I can't do a voice, and I can't do it more than once. And if you change your voice a little bit, you have to be able to go back to it and read other things of that same voice. And I fully envy you folks who can do that.
Yeah, it's a skill that needs to, and it's a skill I'm still learning. I haven't like had any like voice acting classes or anything, so a lot of like my voice and my pitch is purely from stuff that I like just sort of taught myself, and I picked up from reading memes and doing comic dubs.
Yeah.
Something I do hear often is that people, there's a lot of people that are afraid to try it. They really want to try it, but they're afraid to try it because they reckon they have a bad voice. That their voice is just like, it's just not it, right? It's not cut out.
Right.
And I thought the same thing for a very, very long time. And there's still some situations where I'm just like, this is not my range, right?
Yeah.
And what I've learned from doing voice acting is a lot can be learned, and it all comes down to there really isn't any bad voices. There's just unfamiliar voices. There's kind of it's kind of a natural thing, right? We humans, we're a very, very social species. We love cliques, we love tribes, and we hate things that are new and strange to us.
Yeah, and you're not even an old person, and you said that.
And it really, like, we live our entire lives hearing our voice reverberate through our skull, but when we hear it like out loud, what we really sound like, it's strange and it's new and it's gross and it's not my tribe. Excommunicated, get it out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it all, but really the only real way to get through it is to be in an environment where, one, you can learn and be comfortable, and two, just expose yourself to it. That's what you sound like. Build that natural voice and kind of go with the flow, run with it.
That's really great. That's really great advice, and it's great that people have had the opportunity to get their voice out, because the internet is, as for all the things that the internet provides, such as the ability to get beat up by people you never know, and for no reason, you also get the chance to bring those talents out. And someone who's sitting at home with a good voice, who never did anything, and suddenly their voice is out there, and they get a chance to perform for people. It has opened that up for a lot of people. And VTubing has done that for a lot of folks too. Uh, have you kind of discovered a little extra bit of performance talent that you didn't know you had with VTubing?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I kind of. I mean, it's a thing with playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Especially being a game master, you build this whole set, and you're ready for the players to go down one way, and then they just take the whole thing down, and you need to build a whole new adventure on the fly. And VTubing has kind of, like streaming a game has made me sort of kind of re-spark this fire for improv and just a completely improvising a performance or a bit, or like when there's technical difficulties having to stall and just tell like a complete weird tangent or tirade, a little story, to just
Underrated,
try to
underrated
yeah,
talent. Yes.
one thing that I love for doing for all my streams is doing a kind of semi-prepared bit in the intro. One was the Yellow Taxi Goes Room stream, or wait, Garden of the Sea,
Okay.
where chat was sick with bad vibes, and I gave them injection of good vibes. Dr. Gunkey came to the rescue with good vibes. But then I take the label off the syringe, and it's not my syringe of good vibes. It's my syringe of an airstrike, and I did a green string airstrike on the on the stream overlay. I love doing little intros like that. So that that, I mean, doing like streaming and VTubing has kind of sparked that love again for doing like bits and improv.
So, have you thought about improv in general?
Not in general. I did a little bit. I mean, back in college when I took that, we did improv. And D&D I did improv, but not really like going to an event or doing a stream dedicated purely to improvising. I mean, technically all streams are improv, but
Right.
just like purely going in with the mindset of like, we have nothing, let's turn it into something. I haven't really considered that, but I mean, it sure sounds like fun.
Yeah, it sounds like fun until you're sitting there and you've had a long day, and the only thing you can think of is heating up the pizza rolls and in the in the freezer.
Yeah.
Talking in circles is what I used to call it in radio, where you've got suddenly none of your network feeds work, and it's just you and the microphone and no one for miles. So you talk in circles for a long time. But again,
Right.
that's something that you can bring to this, and obviously you've adapted pretty darn well. Um, has it been a surprise to you how well it's been received?
Definitely. There's been a few times where the algorithm just kind of picks up a video and just looks at me going, I'm taking this, and then a video that for a channel my size, right? At the time, like 10, 20 subscribers, getting 2,000 to 6,000 views in a matter of a day or 2 days was something that was phenomenal to me. But I was also surprised by the amount of people that were very positive in the reception. They talked, they spoke very highly of like the range and the emotion, and most recently it was the Look at the Pros video on my YouTube channel, which is about comparing yourself to somebody who's higher up in a skill field, but not acknowledging that lower on the staircase you've come a very long way.
Yeah.
And that one has had a very, very huge impact, I think, because it's just comment after comment of people talking about how they feel inferior, but they didn't realize that that the thing that they've been doing, where they are right now, is enough, and there's still room to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always still room to grow as long as you got some breath in you.
Definitely.
Yeah. And this is given that how you got started with VTubing, have you been able to get into collaborating with anyone?
Yeah. Actually, my very first stream was a collab. From I'm in the Ian VTubers, and there was somebody who was doing Lethal Company collabs, and it was a 19 VTuber Lethal Company.
Oh, Lord Almighty!
I know. That one was chaos. I was new to streaming. It was a rocky start. It was a rocky stream. But I had fun. I had fun. There was a lot of laughs to be had and a lot of bodies to be buried.
That's right. I don't know how you got anything done as far as that. I see people with two having trouble.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I've kind of had this circle of VTuber friends, these other indie VTubers that I've been collaborating with. And I do a weekly Elden Ring collab. I'm
Right.
doing if you're familiar with the game Elden Ring,
Mhm.
we do a seamless co-op series. And it's an episodic thing that me and this small circle of other content creators sort of do. Um, so and there's a lot of other very very skilled and passionate content creators that are able to we can share sort of ping pong ideas back and forth.
That's very valuable, and it's not easy to do. I've learned from interviewing folks that sometimes you really think you've got something going, and it just with somebody on a good level, and then suddenly it just falls apart. For something to be able to survive and keep going at this level is pretty rare.
Yeah, it was definitely, and there's a lot of collabs out there that like you play a game and you have a good time and then you just
Yeah,
never talk to each other again.
yeah. Sounds like my old dating when I was a bachelor. At least I had a good time anyway. I don't know if they ever did. Um, I was in my 40s before I learned you can have a second date. I don't know. The situation sounds great for you, and it sounds like there's just up to go, and you're on
hmm
that way. Are there any big plans for you this year, for the rest of this year, for your channel?
Um, big plans? There's a few actually.
Hmm.
Um, we are preparing a VTuber Dungeons and Dragons series.
Okay.
That's in the works, and I'm also there's some consideration from a rebrand. I'm an animated armor.
Hmm.
From actually this Gunkey suit of armor is an art asset I drew from that game that I talked about
Right.
previously, and turned it into a VTuber. But recently, I've been thinking about other characters that might resemble my personality more. So a rebrand is in the works, but also cooking up possibly, very possibly, 3D Gunkey
Oh.
coming soon.
Yeah, now I've heard folks say they love the 3D. I've heard folks say they'd rather stay with 2D.
hmm
Sounds like to me that either way you like to try these things out. So, what are you looking forward to with the 3D? What do you want to do with it?
I really, really want to do a lot of virtual reality content with it and using the 3D and like VR chat and being able to kind of expand my horizons more.
Hmm.
And maybe even doing things like I've heard actually some comments on my YouTube channel and my streams. People are under the perception that I am a good singer. I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to try it. So possibly a Gunkey concert or something similar like that.
Now that would be cool. Some type of a concert or karaoke or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe some covers. Maybe. Question mark.
Possibly.
Yeah, I didn't hear a no. I went at this point. I'm not putting anything past you because you really had the chance to, uh, for lack of a better term, shrivel up and go away when you got hit right between the
Mm-hmm.
eyes early on. But you didn't do that. You showed the courage and determination to get back on a horse and keep going. And my hat's off to you for that because
Well, thank you.
that
Thank you.
doesn't a lot of people who got hit that hard wouldn't have gotten back up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I think a big part of it was just kind of being in that place where kind of the whole world's kind of flipped upside down. You're like, hey, here's this. Oh, is when you're trying a new thing, try to find the fun in. My very first voice acting thing wasn't a comic dub, wasn't a film. It was a meme. I
Mhm.
voiced a meme and put it on YouTube. and it wasn't a while till I actually made a demo and started auditioning that I actually started getting serious into it. So finding the fun was a big thing in I mean still is in going forward for me.
Well, if you want to find some fun, check out what Gunkey's got to offer. How about that for a segue?
Yeah.
we've got Gunkey's links coming up in the description for this video, and I really thank you for coming on. It's been a very fast interview, and I hope we can get you on again. Whatever you got going on, rebrand, whatever, let me know, and we'll get you up and we'll promote it for you. Okay?
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.